Tonight on Noble Legends podcast, I have Kevin and Darren Harris. Uh, Darren just got named the Washington Post Player of the Year. Huge honor after already winning the Virginia Player of the Year as well. And Coach Kevin Harris, who won a state championship at Centerville and had another really good season at Westfield in his second season there. Hey guys, welcome back.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to see you guys. So, Darren, I wanted to start with you. The first time we talked was either 2 or 3 years ago. May have been 3 years ago, but anyway, I know you were already on Duke's radar. And I remember at that time, you had a lot of potential, had a really good freshman year. And it seemed like there was a lot of expectations on you, and you had a lot to accomplish. And when you look back now, I mean, this year you guys you only lost 2 games, and they're both out of the area. You won the state, you won the WCAC, which many believe is the toughest conference in the country. Obviously, you're on your way to Duke in the fall. You really accomplished everything that you set out to accomplish. And 2 or 3 years ago, you still had it all to do, even though you had all the potential in the world. What's your mindset now when you think about all that you've accomplished and the fact that you've been able to come through? What do you feel like at this moment?
I just feel like you said, like a lot of people were telling me I had potential to do this, but I think I always knew I had it in me. I just needed the right opportunity, the right mindset. Honestly, I think a lot of it had to do with my mindset. I was more aggressive this year, and I wanted to dominate every game because my senior year. So I think a lot of it was just my mindset, and like you said, I always had the potential. But I think I know I always had it in me. I think everything just kind of like going as planned right now.
Yeah, I mean, amazing job. It's sometimes expectations can really weigh heavily on you, and the fact that you're able to deliver is awesome, Coach. From your point of view as a coach and also a father, you've seen a lot of players, not meet their expectations. And I know as a parent, you're invested, and I know you and Roxy do a great job with Darren. But you got to be really proud as a parent. I know you have a lot to do, and you have big goals at Duke. But it must make you feel good that Darren's been able to deliver on that promise.
I think it's more so that Darren has the opportunity to do things that a lot of people dream of. And I think, excuse me, earlier in his career, he had some struggles, and I told him, like, no one feels sorry for you. Like, you're living in dreams. Like, you're playing for PPI, you're on a Duke. I think he really accepted that, and he lived that this year.
Yeah. Well, Coach, you were a good high school player. You played at George Mason, and you've been around a lot of players. When you look back on your career, what are some of the things that Darren had going for him that you didn't have going for you?
Wow. Put me on the spot. I mean, I think that for me, in coming through high school, early 2000s, I came up and lived in Herndon. So, I mean, like, when I grew up, it was like the Randy Dodsons, the John Pugh.
Yeah.
Those guys, they ran the area kind of, and they battled with South Lakes for some titles locally. But, I mean, as a player, I went to Herndon for 2 years. I went to Falls Church, and things that he has that I don't have the opportunity to have is a national schedule at PVI, and his ability to put on stage, to take over, to play in the PCHAM championship twice in a row, at 17th level after his junior year and after his sophomore year. I mean, just the opportunity to basketball open for him is great. It's great for our family. It's great for him. And I think it's prepared him for the biggest stage at Duke.
Yeah, we're all real proud of him too, because Kevin and Roxy are part of a Northern Virginia family for sure, and obviously you are as well. Darren, when you look at it, obviously your parents were both very good players and both heavily involved in your basketball. I know your uncle Tony Harris is one of the baddest boys I've ever seen. That boy can play some ball, man. Tony and I, as I told you before, we grew up together playing football against each other, basketball. Yeah, he was amazing. I know you have a great coach, Glenn Filiero at Paul VI. Does an amazing job, great record. Who are some of your other role models that were very influential in you getting to where you are now?
I would say, like, mostly with my family, like my parents and like my granddad, my uncles, like cousins. Like growing up, I was always in the gym, like watching my dad and uncle coach like my cousins, and like like Tonio and Trey and all of them. And I think like kind of helped me like grow into a basketball player because I was always around people who love the game and worked really hard. So definitely those guys and like yeah, it was mostly just family really that kind of like steered me in the right direction and showed me how to like stay dedicated to your craft.
Yeah. So when you think about your little brother, Coach, remind me your brother's name.
Jaden.
Yeah. So what kind of advice would you give him now? Obviously, again, I know you have a lot to accomplish. You're not resting on your laurels, but if you give him advice on your path and what path he may follow, what kind of advice would you give him today?
I'll probably just say like just be yourself and like don't try to worry about me or like my path, how I did it. Like everybody has a different path. I was fortunate to have a lot of success like early on, and I kind of stood out in middle school and stuff like that. And it kind of helped me get to where I am today. But I think everybody has a different path. Like you can be a late bloomer or early bloomer, and like it doesn't really matter as long as you get to where you can get to. So I would just say like don't look at me. Look at how hard I work and stuff like that. But you don't have to have the same path as me.
Yeah. Well, Darren, one thing at least I've noticed, and maybe I'm wrong about this, you guys can correct me, but you seem to grow tall early. You filled out late, but you were tall at an early stage, and everyone grows differently, and those are things that we don't really control. Was that an advantage to be tall at a young age, or sometimes if when you're tall and you added some bulk in your later years, that was an adjustment, but it was an advantage being tall early.
I would say it was an advantage like at that level for sure. Like I was like athletic at a young age. I was dunking at an early age. I was taller, like you said. But I think something that really helped me was I didn't rely on my height a lot. I worked on my ball handling and shooting, stuff like that because I knew I wasn't gonna be the tallest player, my whole life. So I just I worked a lot on that stuff because I knew I wasn't gonna be 7 foot or stuff like that. It just wasn't possible. So it was definitely an advantage, but I didn't really like rely on it.
Yeah. When you began to fill out, did you have to do anything different with your fitness to make sure you kept the same level? Because all of a sudden, it was interesting. I messaged coach on this a couple of times. You were a kid when I talked to you before, and then I see photos of you. All of a sudden, you became a man. I was like, Coach, what's going on with Darren? But when you started to grow, was there anything different you had to do in your conditioning or your fitness?
Oh yeah, I would definitely say as I started to gain muscle and weight, I had to run a lot more, stay in shape because I was just carrying around more weight, and I had to kind of adjust my game. I wanted to be in better shape than everybody this year. I wanted to run around the court a lot, get a lot of open shots. So I think I did a good job preparing myself for the season. Like last season, I would say I started good, but I think my body kind of just like started to break down as the year went on. I was young and I was immature in terms of my body. So I think this year I took like the weight room a lot more serious, conditioning a lot more serious. I think it paid off.
Yeah, it's funny because my son was a pretty good soccer player, definitely not in your league, but a solid player. Took his team to the state finals, and he was short all his life, so he was a real good dribbler. But then all of a sudden, his sophomore year, he grew from 5'2" to 5'10", and so he was so far away from the ball that he couldn't dribble as well as he did before. So he had to completely change his game because the way his body changed, and he was able to do it, but it required a lot of work because he couldn't he wasn't like the little dribbling machine he was, but he became a different type of player. And that's part of the development. I know, Coach Kevin had a close eye on that. Coach, before we get to Paul the Six's season this year, let's talk a little bit about Westfield's year. Now, I saw you guys play early, lots of talent, a very very young team this year. What do you think about the season? Were you happy the way your team came around?
I think we grew as a group. We started 4 sophomores for the majority of the season, and 1 junior, so we didn't start any seniors. But I think our senior class did a great job leading our young guys as far as culture and work ethic. But our young guys had to carry the load as far as production. And you saw our young guys; they played like sophomores at some points, and at some points they played like seniors. But at the same time, I was proud of them for their work ethic and how hard they work. And I have high expectations for all my groups. And I don't coach them like they're sophomores. I told them that in the season, I'm going to coach you on your potential, not your current state. And they bought in, and they all worked hard, and they played hard, and we practiced hard. We practiced at a competitive level for the entire season. And I'm proud of our guys how we finished out. I mean, not the result anybody wanted. Of course, you want to win the state championship, but I think we're going in the right direction.
How much fun was that Yorktown game that night? That was a crazy game, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a crazy game, but the next night we had to go to PVI and play them, so it wasn't crazy then.
Yeah. And you were tired too, because was it 2 overtimes or one
Exhausted.
over?
Double overtime.
It was double overtime.
Double overtime. They had to go to PVI the next day, so it was definitely a rough week.
Yeah. What was it like coaching against your son?
I coached against him actually his first game, his freshman year at PVI during COVID. So there was no parents allowed in the gym. There was no fans. So I was the only parent in the gym for PVI, ironically. But at that point, he was playing with Trevor Keels and Doug McDaniel and Deshaun. He was a freshman. He was like, the little guy on the team. He started, but he wasn't a focal point of the offense. But this year, I talked a little bit of trash in the offseason. Tried to bait him a little bit, but he came out firing, and the whole group came out firing, and they set the tone like they do as PVI, one of the top teams in the country. But it was special. I mean, to have a chance to coach against him his senior year, up close and personal, and try to scheme against him and their team. But it was just at the end of the day, it was like, it's basketball. At the end of the day, we came home, we ate dinner, and we went on the next day.
I mean, he could take it a little bit easy on your coach. I mean, come on.
He would never. He would never. He would never.
Yeah. Well, the Concord district was sneaky tough this year. Because Oakton, was solid more than people expected. There were really no nights off.
Chantilly had a great year.
Chantilly had a good year, and I think you told me they were going to be solid
the right way. Yeah, and I think that the stuff they did in the offseason prepared them for the postseason run this year. They had winning a regional game for the first time in a while, and kudos to Coach Carmichael and his staff and then their players. They worked hard and they achieved some goals for themselves, and I kudos to them, man, 100%.
Yeah, I don't think the Concord is going to get any easier next year either.
No, not at all.
It's going to be tough next year too. So Darren, what was it like playing against your father? Was it a special moment?
Yeah, it was definitely cool, and I'm close to a lot of players on our team, so it's kind of fun to play against them like in a real game. I play against them like open gym and stuff, in the off season. It's fun to compete against them and like kind of show them like what PVI basketball is about.
Yeah, they got a big look at what PVI basketball is about. Now, Darren, Coach was talking about your stacked team your freshman year. Doug McDaniel was there, Keels, and great team. Did you have more fun when you were a freshman and kind of there wasn't a lot of responsibility, or is it more fun? Now when you're player of the year, Virginia and DC, you're expected to do a lot of things. Was the level of fun different in those circumstances?
I wouldn't say it was more fun, but I think like it was a different experience for sure. Like my freshman year, I was just kind of like wanted to learn as much as I can, from the older guys. And I think that kind of paid off a lot this year because I saw what it takes, to be in the spotlight and have the ball in your hands at the end of the game, stuff like that. So I think I had a lot of fun, like learning from Trevor, what it takes to be as good as he was. Doug, Deshaun, seeing them grow up as well. So I think it was like the same amount of fun, but different experience.
How about the pressure? When you're the star player, you miss a shot, they start crying overrated. I mean, when you're the focal point, anything you do, people are going to give you a hard time. Did you enjoy that spotlight?
Oh yeah, I've been waiting for it, for a long time. So I think once it came, once the spotlight came, I wasn't gonna back down from it for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna get crazier when it goes into the ACC. Well, let's talk about the season. What? Obviously, I believe you have a player going to UConn, player going to Notre Dame. I think you got 2 going to Duke. I mean, you have I know sophomore is supposed to. Yeah, it's right. The sophomore is supposed to be really great. What were the expectations coming into the year? Right? I mean, were you guys supposed to win everything this year?
In our mind, we definitely were, but I think when Pat went down with injury, a lot of people were doubting us. But I think that was kind of our motivation all year. Like you mentioned, we had UConn, Notre Dame, Duke, obviously. We have a sophomore, Jordan Smith, and our point guard, our leader, senior leader, Ben. He did a good job, kind of running the show, putting us in the right spots all year. So I think, experience kind of like our experience, as a group and our bond as a group kind of led us over the top. I think, we all grew up together. we all saw each other, mature as players and as people. So I think that kind of helped, down the stretch.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see the games that you lost. I believe you lost both games out of town, Darren.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So when you look back at those games, were they winnable games, or were there things in those games that you could have done differently? The team could have done differently, or were they just good experiences that were kind of building blocks on the rest of the year?
I mean, yeah, for sure. I think both games were definitely winnable. I think we kind of lost the game for us. I don't think they beat us. I think we kind of lost it ourselves. We played Mount Vernon in Florida, and that was a big game for us because everybody was saying like nobody's gonna come close to beating them or nobody's gonna beat them, but we gave them like the best game of the year. Definitely up to that point. So I think that game. I think we just got tired towards the end of the game. We spent so much energy, trying to get, trying to stay in the game with them. And I think, we kind of made some mental mistakes down the stretch that we'll definitely fix. And the other game we lost was to Columbus in Massachusetts to the Boozer twins and Jace Richardson and all them. I think that was winnable for sure. I think we had a tough schedule that we came from Missouri. We had like 3 games in 3 days in Missouri, and then we flew to Massachusetts the next day. So I think we kind of got tired there too. The travel kind of caught up to us, and all the games caught up to us. But hopefully we can play them again in nationals next week.
You said is that Carlos Boozer? Those
Yeah.
kids? Oh, awesome. And Duke
And
guys.
Jason Richardson's.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, look, I think coming into the season, I had read, and I'm not sure if this is true, but Paulo Six had disappointed in the WCAC, and this year you won the regular season and you won the tournament. So that must have been a very special moment for you as a senior.
Yeah, for sure. We kind of got tired of hearing everybody talk about the one loss we had last year in the championship. So we kind of just wanted to put that away. But I mean, they're still talking about it. So I don't know what else we have to do, really.
Yeah, that's the way it
I
goes.
think that it goes without saying that the group they had as a senior class, I mean, they didn't really have a freshman year. Their sophomore year, they won
COVID, right?
WCAC. Yeah, COVID.
Yeah.
WCAC, they won at the buzzer. Their sophomore year, junior year, they lost at the buzzer and went undefeated the whole regular season. And then their senior year, they went undefeated regular season and throughout the playoffs without winning by double digits. So I mean, greatly accomplished group, and kudos to their coaching staff.
Oh yeah, amazing team, and again, it's many feel it's the best conference in the country. So you're butting heads against against the very best. So both of you guys, I'd like to ask, do you guys wish in some ways Paul the Sixth could play in the city championship? Because it's a little strange to me because WCAC, you're part of this elite conference, and then when it comes to postseason, you guys go to the Virginia, and there's some good teams. I know you play St. Anne's Belfield. There's a couple of good teams from Richmond that you have to play as well. But in a sense, when you think about it, makes sense for Paul the Sixth to play in the city championship instead of the Virginia championships?
I'll talk first. I think that they did that back when WCC champ played against the DC champ.
Oh, is that right?
To the title. But I think now it's more or less that these kids see each other so much and so often. They played, Gonzaga 2 times, and O'Connell, and they play these teams, St. John's, so many times throughout the year. I mean, it's good to go see a St. Anne's Belfield where you're getting challenged late in the game. But at the same time, it's good for our Sidwell friends and St. John to battle it out for a true DC city title.
Yeah.
Whereas you add in the VA public schools or private schools to that tournament, it's a little different. But I mean, either way, it's great. I mean, Sidwell and St. John's, that was a great game. Sidwell came through again to win. I think they're second or third in a row.
I think third.
Yeah, third. Yeah, I mean, it's great. And Coach O'Connor did a great job with St. John's getting in there and accomplish what they did this year. But I think PVI and the way it's set up now with the state tournament is great because they don't see those teams in the VISA a lot with their national schedule. So it's great to see those teams late in the season. And
they're good. They're good teams. St. Anne's
Belfield. For sure.
Always. Yeah. So I didn't see highlights of that game. Were the games close in Virginia in the state tournament?
The championship was kind of close. We won by 10, I think. Yeah. But the rest were kind of blowouts.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, congratulations again, Darren. Before we get to Duke, let's talk a little bit about Coach. Like next year, so Darren's going to be out, playing this ACC schedule, and you're coaching again. And is it going to be difficult to coach when there's going to be some games probably you're not going to be able to go to with Darren? I know you're going to get there when you can, but is that going to be a difficult situation for you to not to be able to be there for most of the games?
It's been difficult for the last three of his high school 4 years. I mean, I coached his freshman year, and then his junior and senior year I've been at Westfield. So I mean, it's been difficult not seeing him play in person and not getting that in-person experience. But at the same time, next year he's going to another level, and there's more travel involved. And I'll get there when I can, and my wife and my mom and my sister and my brother and our family will be there to support him. And I'll definitely be there when I can. But he knows I'm going to watch the games, on DVR or whatever, and give my 2 cents when I can. But it's definitely difficult not seeing able to see him play. But as a coach, that's something you have to sacrifice. And he knows that. And I talked to him before I went back into coaching, and he approved that. So
yeah, well, we're certainly glad to have you coaching in the area again. Adds to our history and our culture. So Darren, what is your mindset when you watch this Duke team play? Are you in contact with a lot of the kids right now? Since obviously you've already committed and you're almost part of the Duke family.
Oh yeah, I'm in contact with some of them for sure. Like mostly the freshman class there right now. Jeremy, Tyrese, I talked to a little bit. Because of like when I went on my visits, those were the guys like they kind of showed me around and hung out with them. When they had their free time. So I kind of had a close relationship with them. And they're definitely cool guys. That's why I went to Duke, honestly, because like obviously the fit basketball wise with the the players and people are cool too. Like they're humble, they're hard workers and stuff like that. So I think I'm definitely in contact with some of them, yeah, and wishing them good luck.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think I think it's fair to say they kind of had an up and down year. And obviously they have a lot of potential, a lot of talent, but the ACC is proven how tough it is in the NCAA. I mean, the teams are all doing extremely well, but it was interesting. James Madison came in with 3 losses, and everybody was hyping them. I mean, everywhere I looked, this was James Madison's going to beat Duke, and I mean, Duke just laid the wood to them. And I was messaging your coach, and I was like, "What the heck's got to do that?" It was almost like Duke was like, "Are you James Madison's favorite over us?" Really? It was almost like they had something to prove. What were your thoughts on the James Madison game?
Oh yeah, I've definitely been in a situation like that before. With my team, because like we're kind of like Duke in terms of talent, pedigree at the high school level. So like when we hear when we see a tweet or a coach or we hear a player that's not on our level, we kind of just like laugh at it. Hope we can play them and just dominate them. Sometimes we do that. It's kind of fun to do. So I mean, it was definitely fun to watch.
Oh, like Westfield.
I mean, that was one of the most comprehensive beatdowns I've ever seen at teams at that level. I mean, James Madison had 3 losses this year and just got destroyed. Coach Harris, what did you think about the game?
I watched the game from beginning to end. I think that Jamie had a great season. They won 30 plus games going into the tournament, which is unheard of. But when you run into a Duke team who's shooting the ball like that, I mean, there's nothing much you can do.
Yeah.
I mean, they were knocking down threes from everywhere. They're getting stops on defense. They're turning you over. I mean, it's hard to be any team like that, but especially when you got Duke in the front of the jersey. I mean, and the momentum gets rolling, it's pretty hard to stop that.
Yeah, it was pretty hard. And I was thinking, Darren, when they were playing, I was like, man, the style of play. I'm like, he's going to fit in really well here. The way they were playing too. I'm like, you put him in there. That's a couple more threes you're gonna have in your face. So anyway, huge win. And it's interesting because I didn't realize that they have to play Houston now. I guess somehow the seedings worked out that way. I guess again, Duke had an up and down year. The ACC was tough. I mean, Houston just had an incredible win. I mean, just an unbelievable a game. They lost a huge lead, and usually when you lose a huge lead, as I'm sure Coach Harris can tell you, it's hard to rally your troops when victory is in front of you and you blow it, and then you have to go out there and do it again. And they were able to do it. What do you guys think about Houston? It's a very different team than Duke. Do you guys think Duke matches up well with them?
Oh yeah, I think they match up really well. I think Duke's playing tough right now. I think they're peaking at the right time. Everybody wants to play their best basketball at this time of the year. I think they're doing that. You know, they kind of fought through injuries all year, you know, stuff like that. But I think they're peaking right now. And I mean, Houston's like a great program. You know, they're like a I think they're like a blue blood type program in terms of the way they play. Like they're really tough. You know, their identity is like, you know, defense, rebounding. You know, you're not gonna out tough them probably every game. So, you know, that's something, you know, Coach Ferrello uses a lot. He uses Houston as an example a lot. You know, how tough they are, how hard they rebound, how hard they run, how hard they defend.
Yeah, that Jamal Shad, he's something else. What about you, Coach? What do you think? What's your analysis of Houston?
Houston's a tough team. They're always, you know, top to bottom. They defend the perimeter, they rebound, they hold you to one shot. Their guard play is really good this year. But like I said, if Duke plays where they played against JMU, it's hard to beat them. And you know, the saying is Duke's never the underdog.
Yeah, well, I guess they actually play better. Maybe when they're not. So yeah, it's great, and it's I'm sure it's exciting for you. Your work is done, and your focus is on next year.
Not
Darren,
yet.
if you, I'm
They
sorry,
got nationals.
what's that?
They have nationals next week.
Oh, okay. You're playing AAU. Oh,
No.
all the
High school
sixes.
nationals.
Is that
Chipotle.
Alhambra? Is that Alhambra?
No,
Or
it's
is that?
Chipotle Nationals in Indianapolis.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know that was going on. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
it's next week. So
yeah.
they start out next week against IMG, first round.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Well, Darren, don't relax. There's work to be done. So after nationals, if you had one thing that you can work on, and I know you're going to try to improve your whole game, there's one thing you'd like to work on before you get to Durham next fall. What would that be?
I would probably just, you know, continue working on my body. I know like the college game is, you know, a different level in terms of strength and athleticism. So I think I don't want to like be behind when I get there, and I want to impact immediately. So just keep working on my body, keep getting stronger, you know, stuff like that. Keep staying in shape.
Yeah. And Coach Harris, are you going to continue to coach him through this summer, or is Darren kind of on his own to do his thing now?
He's never on his own. I mean, I think that this is probably the last time we get in the gym together in like this summer, and to kind of get my hand on him and guide him in the right direction. And like he said, he's a self-starter. You know, he's a self-motivator. He'll ask me to get in the gym and shoot around and pre-game, post-game, whatever. It doesn't matter. But it's just that I think it's gonna be a special something for him to realize like what it's gonna take to get to the next level, physicality wise and work ethic wise. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I have no doubt he's going to get there. And the good thing about Duke is the way they play. You know, especially when they're going well, they all complement each other so well. They, you know, it's kind of like their system. It brings out the strengths in all the players. So obviously, I'm sure you're going to be as good as you can be. But I have a feeling that Coach Shire is going to bring out even more in all your great teammates.
Absolutely.
Well, look, yeah. Well, look, guys, I really appreciate you guys always making time for me. You know, I feel like
appreciate it.
yeah, in some little small way, I've been part of this journey. But man, Darren, we're all so proud of you. You know, nobody's surprised. But again, you can never diminish overcoming the weight of expectations. I mean, I don't coach like your father, but I've seen in life so many times people can't meet expectations. So you know, the fact that you've done all you set out to do and you're continuing to just try to get better is just amazing. And you know, you deserve to be congratulated. And we all can't wait to see what you do at the next stage.
Thank you. It means a lot. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course, guys. Look, and good luck. Good luck next week, and we'll be cheering for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julian.
All right, guys. Good talking to you.
Have a good one.
You too, man.